Welcome everybody to the Highgate Selectboard meeting for July 18th, 2024. First order of business, pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Happy summer. Hope everybody's enjoying it so far. Happy belated July 4th. We got a full house here tonight. It's going to be quite a fun meeting, I think. And we can start with open meeting.
Okay, these are questions that have been brought to my attention.
Could you please identify yourself now?
Alice Susan Coda. These were brought to my attention by some residents in Highgate. One of the questions that has been asked quite a few times, I don't know if it can be answered, is a house in the park. I know it's in the Texas Bank, but I'm still getting a lot of questions on it, and they know I go to the select board, so I'm just asking, how is that coming?
So you gotta get those people to listen to you when you
I know,
tell them what we tell you.
I know, and I told them that, but they know I come to every select board meeting, so it's still a big question, correct? Okay. Second question, this has been brought to me by Highgate residents. The hotel across in Sorcy, is that still kind of on standstill as well until, these are just questions that
If someone comes in with the right amount of money, it's theirs.
and I told them that, but they still told me to bring it. Okay.
We're talking the Old Nation property,
Yes.
mentioning like
Yes.
a
And I
Airbnb or
told them
something.
that, they still wants me to bring it. This one should be very simple. One of Highgate residents on top of Mill Hill Road, going on to Lincoln Street. I guess there's some brushes, some shrubs next by the guardrail. When people are coming off Lincoln Street, they cannot see. It's a safety hazard. That has been brought to my attention by a couple Highgate residents. They
Going down Lincoln Street or going down Mill Hill?
stop and going on to Lincoln Street, there's a bunch of brushes. When they stop coming down on Lincoln Street, I guess the brushes are right by the guardrail, they cannot see. And it's a safety issue. This has been brought to me by quite a few Highgate residents. I'm just bringing it up to the board so you realize it's a safety issue. That's all I have.
We'll bring it up Public Works and have them trim them back.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
That's it?
That's it. I'm told I was gonna be good to you guys.
Okay. It's not like it.
Well, I'm giving you a break because it's summer.
Okay, thanks. Anybody else for public comment? Okay, we're up for a legislative update with representatives. We have everybody here tonight, it looks like. So who's going first, or is somebody speaking for everybody?
I don't mind starting off.
Okay.
So I'm Representative Lisa Hango, representing this town and 3 others, Franklin, Berkshire, and Richford, with Representative Wayne LaRush behind me and our 2 senators here. Thank you for inviting us. I just want to start out by saying that it was a very difficult session. We are all 4 of us in the minority, so it was very difficult to get anything accomplished. Some of the things that we tried to do was to offer you all some tax relief across the board, whether it be property taxes or income tax relief for certain groups of retirees, or voting against new fees and other taxes. We were not successful, and as I sit here, I feel like I feel a little bit defeated saying that. I feel like I've let you all down, but I can assure you that we have worked as hard as we can, the very few of us who are in the minority in the House and the Senate, to represent what we feel our constituents' needs are. And we've heard loud and clear from many of you that you're really upset about property taxes, you're really upset about new fees, new laws that impose more restrictions on the way you do business. some of the things that I can point to and maybe give a very brief explanation on property tax increases. Our constituents have voted on their school budgets, so it is what it is. We did try throughout the session for systemic change to the school funding formula so that we could perhaps be treated more equitably than the high spending districts that we all know where they are. And we were continually shot down that nobody really wanted to talk about the systemic issue of the school funding formula. So we're stuck with what we get. We're going to see that when our property tax bills come out. And I am really sorry about that because it's affecting me just like it's affecting everybody else. I'm also on a school board. I understand the constraints that school boards have to work with. There are certain things that we have to pay for, whether we like it or not, or want to or not. I believe in this region of Vermont that our school boards are conscious of their constituents and the fact that people are getting priced out of the market. So yeah, I'm not really pointing to any of us who are school board members in northern Franklin County, but there certainly are others across the state that are driving up these costs for us. So another new thing that you might have noticed in your paychecks on July 1st is a payroll tax, which is funding childcare for just about everybody, whether you really need the assistance financially or not. So that went into effect as of July 1st, and it was voted on last year. We're also all seeing, as we renew our car registrations and get our driver's licenses renewed, $22 million in new DMV fees, which I will add the DMV never asked for. It was a way to raise revenue for the state, and folks who were in the majority thought that that was a good thing to do. A sad thing for me was that there was virtually no Act 250 reform this year whatsoever. Those of you who are on development review boards and planning commissions know how hard it is for people to build, for developers to build, individuals to build, and I think it's only going to get more difficult. We passed some laws that have a lot more restrictions, and I think it's going to be more complicated. So with that, I will just look to my senators to fix the mess that the House made, as they often say, and see what you all have to say about this.
Well, Senator Bob Norris, I represent Franklin County and the town of Elbert in Grinnell County. I don't sit on money committees. I sit on Senate Judiciary and on Senate Government Operations. I see Senator Brock has a bevy of bills here that he's perusing through, whatever else. The financial situation is dire, to say the least. I voted to sustain all of the governor's vetoes, all 7 of them. We did make a little headway, not much. However, having said that, there is a supermajority down there, which we are not part of. We're hoping to correct that problem this upcoming election. We can only hope for the best, but it's not good down there. Things aren't good down there as far as monies are concerned, as far as they just have a philosophy of we give people exactly what they want. I don't know if that's consistent with the constituents here in Franklin County. I'm not hearing that same message from them. Obviously, I haven't got my tax bill as of yet. I shudder to think what it may be. I'm sure it's coming sooner than later, but it's not all ugliness down there. I think we have made some strides. We have made some compromise, but there's much more work to be done, obviously. And we need to change the direction that Montpelier is going in down there, because at any given point in time, in my personal opinion, sometimes common sense is lacking down there. So, unless you have specific questions to me or for me in reference to judiciary and or government operations, I'd be more than happy to entertain them. But you know, it's not good, the direction we're going here. And I know personally of friends who are moving out of the state, unfortunately, because they can't sustain
the tax base that's coming through. It's not a good situation.
Well, it certainly seems like they want two classes of people in the state now. They want super poor or they want super rich. They want to rub out the middle class, in my opinion, just from what I hear and see. I've had people this week tell me how much their house payments have gone up from property tax increase. I look forward to seeing mine. But they're driving everybody out, and the question I always ask, and the answer that I always get from you folks is, they won't answer it, is at what point do they realize that they're really hurting people a lot more than they're helping them? Because they really are. You know, the rich get richer, and yeah, they're all happy, but I guess my point is, we have to vote. We have to get out and vote. This state, we are great about complaining, but we don't step up and go make a vote. And yes, these big cities are the ones that are super majorities are coming out of, but if all of our little towns get out and vote, we'll outnumber.
Yeah, and just to respond to that quickly, Kyle, is, of course, as you all well know, there's 14 counties in the state of Vermont, and Franklin County has 12 out of the 13 elected officials who are fiscally conservative, I might add. One not so much, but 12 out of 13 are, and I don't know of anybody who voted to not sustain any of the governor's vetoes in reference to these rising costs that we're all coming across here. So it's not a good situation, but there's 13 other counties that seem to be the driving force behind what's happening here in the state of Vermont.
It makes no sense to me that we, state of Vermont, that we elect a Republican governor and then put supermajority left in. What good, you know?
Well, we didn't, but the rest of the state did, yes.
No, we didn't.
Yes.
But that's my point. I just don't get it. I just don't understand what they're thinking. And it is so frustrating, but I know personally, just from people I've talked to, our representation, please don't sit and apologize for doing your job and trying to fight for us. I say, Bob, try to say, Bob, keep fighting, keep swinging, keep fighting for us, buddy. He said, I will, you know, that's all we can ask for. So I appreciate you taking the time to do it tonight.
Thank you.
Oh.
Yeah, no apologies, David.
I was just looking through here. This is a list of, I don't know, 200 and some odd bills that we passed during the course of this year. To me, the most important bills I mentioned on the floor at the minority leader's speech at the end of the session. I think the most important bill that we passed all year was the designation of the state mushroom. Because if I look at the rest of it, you know, they weren't really that important compared to what it means to people. We raised taxes. We raised taxes big time. We raised taxes by an average of about 13.8% of property taxes. And without a realization by a lot of the people voting of what that means to people, particularly people in the lower middle class, people who are working and who are struggling to make those house payments and struggling to really survive, that is a devastating kind of blow. And the lack of willingness to negotiate alternatives was one of the things that I also saw this year. This was the worst. I've been there, as you know, for quite a few years, and this is without question the worst session that I've seen. The one thing that I think may be good, and this isn't just in Franklin County, because I go around the state and I talk to people in other areas, particularly looking for people to recruit to help build our caucus, is people are mad. And I think people are mad quite broadly around the state, except for those who are recipients of some of the gold that's been given out, and there are particular groups that have benefited from it. There's also a philosophy that's benefited from it. There's a tremendous anti-growth philosophy in Vermont that exists. It existed beginning in probably the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s, and continued as more and more people who had different ideas moved into Vermont and who promulgated those ideas. And among those ideas was that we want smart growth, a term that you hear in Vermont very, very often. And smart growth, in my opinion, could be very, very dumb. Because smart growth taken to its extreme, and we see that in some of the Act 250 stuff that limited what we could do about housing this year, is the population sits in a cell in the middle of a beautiful area, but they can't go outside the cell, but they can look at the beautiful trees and mountains through the bars. And that's what we're getting to right now. Some of the philosophy is being pushed forward of, taking not 50, but much more than that percent, vast majority percent of the land, making sure that it stays pristine, and that we live in kind of areas in which we're locked in consolidated villages and urban, semi-urban areas that we are making more and more and more dense. And we see that particularly as some of these things are applied to some of the other counties, not so much here yet, but certainly on the way. And makes it much more difficult for people to build on the land that we occupy and actually be part of it, as opposed to look at it from a distance. Some of the bills that we're doing right now are also very philosophical as far as left-leaning spending is concerned, such as we're going to get back at big oil because of the amount of damage that they've done to the environment. Maybe they have done damage to the environment, but the notion that now we're going to sue big oil and we're going to take them to account and we're going to et cetera, but without thinking, what is this going to cost and who's going to pay for it? We're a state with $8.5 billion in revenue. Exxon alone has, what, $844 billion a year of revenue, and you multiply that by the top 10 oil companies, we're going to be litigating forever. And the Attorney General is saying, well, we don't need to hire any extra litigators because we have enough people in our own office to do that. If they have enough people in their own office to litigate against the top 10 oil companies, what the hell else are they doing right now when they aren't litigating there? And these are the kinds of attitudes that we face all the time. We face the attitudes that, as Senator Norris mentioned, raising the price of motor vehicle expenses, which affects ordinary people on a day-to-day basis. When the Department of Motor Vehicles has gotten more efficient and doesn't need the money and has not asked for it. But that's what we did this year, and that passed, and it passed Oklahoma. How are we going to get out of this? Well, either we're all going to go broke and everybody's going to move to Tennessee and there's going to be nobody left, which is a possibility, or we have to try to spread some of the ideas that are here. Present in Franklin County and to a great extent in Rutland County, those are the two counties that we see the difference, and begin to spread more of that around the state. And some of those of us who are in office, that's what a good deal of the summer doing, is helping our counterparts elsewhere so that we get people who can help us. We have to get, at least as long as Governor Scott is in office, we have to make sure that we have at least 11 votes so that when something does get vetoed, and there were more vetoes here than I think any time in Vermont's history in this past session, and there should have been, that we can sustain those vetoes. That's what we need to do it. We need one more than 2/3 of the vote to do it. My sense is that we have a better chance this year than we have in a long time because there are people elsewhere around Vermont who notice the damage that they're seeing and that's affecting them. There's more and more concern about some of the things that we're doing in response to drugs, for example, of having, quote, safe injection sites. Well, if you have a safe injection site in Burlington and the addict comes from Franklin County to go there, how does he get there? How does he get back and forth on our roads and highways? And what are the implications of that to people who are using those roads and highways who are not impaired? And it goes on and on and on and on. And we can complain and blame. Our task is to hopefully have at least those people who are reasonable on the other side of the aisle in the legislature who do agree with us. And that's how we stop some things. There's some things that have been legislation that would have been vetoed that don't get to the veto, the privacy legislation, which I could go on about for hours, which would be crippling to some of our medium-sized businesses, did get stopped because enough people on the other side said, this maybe needs to be rethought. And so as a result, it doesn't get to the final vote. So there's no veto vote on it, so you don't see that. It makes it look as though the veto vote is much more decisive than it perhaps is. But it is significant. And our task this year is to make sure that we have some people on the other side of the aisle, and particularly in some of these other counties, and some people elected on our side of the aisle, and we have certainly some target seats that we're working on very heavily. Again, with the focus that we're Vermont Republicans, we're not here to be national Republicans, we're not engaged in that debate at all. We're here to look at how this affects Vermont, how this affects our citizens, how this affects our taxes, how this affects our ability to live here and to live here comfortably. And that we're going to be spending a lot of time on this. Again, I've got the list of bills here. In fact, I'll put it up on the table if you want to. Anyone wants to just thumb through and, oh, sorry. To ask anything about any of them or about anything you think we're doing or not doing, I think we're all happy to answer.
And if I might just add on to Senator Brock's statement as far as us attaining that magic number of 11 or more within the Senate to sustain a veto, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to sustain all of the governor's vetoes. However, right now with 7 out of 30 of us in there, they don't even have to acknowledge our presence. So at this point in time, if we do have 11 or more, here's a word that we hear all the time, but we don't say it, is compromise, reaching across the aisle. They're going to have to acknowledge our presence now. Hopefully we can do just that, because we do have some folks on the other side of the aisle who are willing to compromise. But if we get that magic number, I think things will be moving in a better direction for all of the state that we put out.
Do have a question. Actually, Shelley, the tax bills statewide, they come out for everybody in October, or
no? Just for us. Some bill quarterly, some bill annually, some collect in the spring. Some aren't even on a fiscal year. Some towns are still on a calendar year.
Okay, because we're kind of lucky in that way. I mean, not lucky it comes out in October, but convenient. Everybody's going to get their huge tax bill increase in October, and November 5th or 4th we get to vote. So that's kind of a good thing, I think. Although the issue is we have representatives that fought against it. So it doesn't really help us, but I just wondered, I thought about it the other day if the rest of the state is in line with us, but I guess not.
No.
So,
most collect in the fall, but not all.
One question I have is this tax increase is based on the school budgets. Is this a one-time tax increase, or is this going to happen next year again if we don't reform?
There's no such thing as a one-time tax increase.
Well, some of the things that are driving the tax increase, among them are a continued increase in healthcare costs, which says that we've got to do a better job of managing healthcare statewide, and some of the things that we're doing in cost control aren't working. It, in my mind, says we need to take a good hard look at the Green Mountain Care Board and whether or not it's caring for Vermonters and Vermonters' wallets the way it should. I think we should take a look at our hospitals and the like, and do a real deep dive at the cost structures that we have. You know, it bothers me tremendously every time I go into Costco or someplace like that, and I look at the big screen TVs. Every time you go in there, the price of those TV sets is lower than it was the last time you went in there, and that's been going on for years. But every time you go to the hospital or the doctor, the price has gone up, and they're both technology driven. Why?
And it depends on where you go for your procedures.
That's correct, it does. There are tremendous differences, and there's been some transparency about the fact that if you go to hospital A for this particular procedure, you're going to pay a lot less than you do if you go to hospital B. We need to do better work on making sure that people are aware of that, because that puts pressure on them to do the kind of cost control that others are doing. We may need more privatization of healthcare. We know that, for example, when some of the private surgical clinics open up, the cost for particular procedures drop. Hospitals scream bloody murder because it says, well, it means that we've got to charge more for other procedures. Well, that's called transparency.
Yeah.
I just want to piggyback on Vern bringing up the taxes real quick before we veer too far off, because there was a new bill. I'm not sure if it is on your list, and I'm hoping I can get some insight on where the thought process came from. But last week I learned of a new bill that I can no longer send somebody to tax sale that has not been delinquent for less than a year. And I would like to know how that helps somebody get ahead when I now have to, they're going to be snowballing, adding 20% on top of that between an 8% delinquent penalty, 1% interest per month. That's 20% each year you're late. And how are they ever going to catch up? When I tax sale them year one, it is easy to make up a couple $1,000s over a year or two. When you start doubling and tripling this amount, how is that helping people that are already struggling? And then they're getting 14% increases. And the Green Mountain Healthcare Board, they're very lovely. The average healthcare increase in this town has been 12%. So they're getting it from all angles. But if anyone was on that board or a part of that decision, if there was any kind of back thought to that, I would love to hear it. How is this helping our, thank you, Lisa.
It's not helping you. No, I'm really sorry. That was my committee that bill came out of. That committee is chaired by a Franklin County Democrat, so I'll not mention any names here. But that was something, again, that was thought that, well, you know, we really need to give people more of a chance. What if they're having a really terrible time and they need more time? Many of us did try to fight against that, and unfortunately we didn't get anywhere. I believe the vote out of my committee was 9-3 to vote it out, and 3 of us said, no, we don't want this to go into effect.
Forcing them to face the problem earlier than later is what should have happened. That was very disappointing when I learned that last week.
First I've heard of that.
Excuse me?
First I heard that, I'll have to read up on that one too.
Well, someone had to come off my tax sale list because they
Oh.
weren't a full year delinquent.
I think Senator Norris hit it on the head when he says, no, all the common sense.
Yeah.
Correct.
And it was buried in the language of that bill. I think it was 6-2 something was the number of that bill, maybe. But it was buried in the language of the bill because the original intent of the bill was to help communities that had been flooded out and to give them some extra abatement ability.
Mm-hmm.
And then this got convoluted into it. We have a particularly, I don't want to call names, but our Ways and Means Committee in the House, which is the ones who deal with taxes, they have a lot of pretty far out ideas, and that was one of them. That was just one of the smaller, less egregious things that they
I think it's going to
put in.
negatively impact many, many residents, especially with this increase coming down the pipe.
Well, I appreciate your thoughts. I can pass those on, but I'm not sure where that'll get me.
It'll get us
Probably a new
somewhere.
committee assignment.
Probably not a chairmanship.
Probably not. So what can we do besides the idea of getting people in a Republican position? What can we do?
I love that.
Who do we scream at? Who do we complain to? Who do we say, enough is enough, get your poop together?
I love that Kyle said, get out and vote.
Yeah.
We had a really low voter turnout last time around, I think it was, and we really need more people to express their voice by voting. So that's really important. I'm glad you said that.
And the thing is, if you look at the makeup of Franklin County, we don't have a whole lot of media left in Franklin County. You get one of the local papers out of St. Albans that puts out 2 editions a week, and then they're all online. And Mellon up Eastburg just basically, other than being online, is non-existent. And to get that word out here, I think that we need to continue to vote. We need to stay fast in what we're doing and keep swinging, which I can assure you that we will, as your representatives and senators throughout Franklin County. But a lot of it is if you choose to make your voice heard outside of Franklin County, whether it's reaching out to a Vermont Digger or 7 Days or someone that they have a good statewide base that reads their paper here. And I'm not telling you what to say, but clearly you're fed up, you're overtaxed, you want change, and you have to make your voice heard at the polls and through the media, whether it be social media or whether it be one of these newspapers, whatever else. What it's going to do, I can't guarantee anything. But hopefully it makes you feel better anyways. But we'll continue to be vigilant on our end, I can assure you.
I think another really important thing to do is when you hear about things like this and you can pinpoint what bill it's actually in, and we can help you with that, is to write to the committee members. They all can be found on the General Assembly website. So write to the chair of the committee, you know, if you hear that such and such committee was negligent and they did not take up education tax reform, education funding reform. Write to the chair of the committee, write to the committee members, and tell them how it's affecting the people in your town, or you personally.
But I do encourage you to, our emails are all the same, you know, rrock, Alejandro, WRush, is please reach out to me if you have a question on a bill or whatever else. Do not leave this up to me to govern, okay? I need your input, I need your ideas as to which way, you know, you feel about this. You know, don't leave it up to me to make that decision for you. I represent my constituents throughout Franklin County and not Rock, Morris, and Montgomery.
This input is really important, and when there are lots of issues that come up that we do hear a lot, and we hear a lot lopsided in terms of those positions. People elsewhere in the state don't always hear a lot, or they don't hear the same thing perhaps that we hear. Many people throughout our county, though, are members of other organizations that are statewide, whether they be farm organizations, whether they be parent-child organizations, etc., is speak to those agencies, the League of Cities and Towns, of which Highgate and others are members. Speak to them loudly with your concerns and the concerns of your constituents, if you're a member of or representative on these, to light a fire under them, because they do bring a lot of power to other parts of the state, and that can be very, very helpful. But if we hear silence from one place and the others are agitating for a particular position, we tend to lose.
And I think too, it's important to point out, it's not just the individuals that are hurt, towns themselves are hurt. Because we feel obligated not to raise our municipal portion of the tax bill because we know the state's already hammered people right to the ground. So maybe we need a new truck, maybe we need a new bridge, maybe we need something else in our town budget, but you can't ask for it because you're afraid that you're going to tax your people right out of town. So it's not just the individuals, it's the actual 251 towns that they are hurting when they don't take into account the actual cost and how to pay for things.
Sharon, Ty said he wrote a question in the chat on Zoom.
Okay, sorry about that. Let's
Dane's
see.
been trying to say something too.
Anytime. Sorry, didn't see you right.
Sort of reinforce what others have stated before, but basically, in my mind, we have a majority of feeling people in Montpelier, not thinking people. They feel that it's a good thing to do, and they do those things without the kind of assessment you do when you buy a new plow truck.
Yeah.
They're not digging deep to find out what they're feeling. They're not thinking, and they don't want to hear anything other than what feels good to them, and they like delivering things that feel good to the public also. So that makes them, goes both ways there. It's a do loop that is self-sustaining if it feels good. But we've got problems like Senator Brock was talking about, the Act 250 stuff. I mean, they're setting up a kangaroo court as far as I can see. They're settling it up so that the governor has to choose from a group of people that they select. And so that can set up a philosophical group that is self-perpetuating because they have to abide by the rules that group sets up, and the governor can only appoint from that group. And it's going to be even worse because there was a path worn into that Environment and Science Committee by the environmental groups, the same ones that are around back in the 90s. I know because I used to be an environmental consultant. You know, I worked on all ski area jobs. I testified in front of Act 50 commissions and environmental courts, also in other states. And I saw those same people, and at that time in the 90s, their message was, we're going to stop growth. They've modified that message through time, so now that message is, well, we're going to control growth. We're going to have smart growth. The concept is the same though, and the same people. I watched them, they stayed there until 11 o'clock at night when that vote went down on that bill. They sat behind me, I saw them there. So that's going on. They have the ear of the people that are down there, and they're pushing through things that they want. And some of the things that have happened with that Act 250 bill, I think are going to be pretty unpleasant. People are going to have a difficult time building houses in the countryside. And like it's been mentioned before, they're trying to drive people to the city centers, and they don't want people out in the countryside. And when I say they're feeling not thinking people, I challenge them on the floor, because in that bill, that's the one that they did last year, they defined habitat as the physical and biological conditions in which a species can live. I stood up on the floor and I said, well, what about chemical? You know, it's physical, chemical, biological. They didn't listen. They put it into the law that misstates how you define the term habitat. It's right in that bill, in law. So until the people decide that we have to have a few more thinking people around, I think we're going to have a problem. I mean, the education system, we got an $8+ billion budget, $2.8 billion in education. Until it goes completely off the rails, I don't know how we're going to fix it, but it's going to have to go off the rails. Because the way it's going, it's just up and up and up. And when they did put a study committee in as part of this bill that went through this year, but who were the first ones they named on that committee? If you line it up with the unions right off the bat, why do you think that they're going to advocate for anything that's not in their best interest? They're not. And in some cases, some of the things that need to be done probably may not be in their best interest.
Well, we watched that happen with Act 46, which started out to consolidate school districts, not individual schools. It was to get rid of the oversight of management, and they got in there and they changed that all around, and we're all paying for it.
So I think there's going to have to be a calamity before there's a reckoning and things actually come back to upright balance.
You think we're there yet? With this new tax hike? We're not there yet, you don't think so?
I don't think we're there yet.
Wow.
I do have a question from Zoom. Ty Schwarnier asks, I'd like to know what can be done about judges letting repeat offenders out of jail within 48 hours of being caught. I just hear the guy that the cops were looking for 2 weeks that had stolen multiple cars is out already.
I sit on the Institutions and Corrections Committee, and so we do get a lot of data, and Senator Norris is also on the Judiciary Committee, so he's been law enforcement for years, so he knows a lot about it. But the last I knew, we had 26,000 dockets of cases that hadn't been adjudicated yet. So and I don't know what it is, that was the spring. We had 91 murders and manslaughters that haven't been adjudicated yet at that time also. So there's a big roadblock. We don't have enough judges, we don't have enough state's attorneys, and the capacity of some of our courts isn't great enough in terms of rooms and space for them to put people through at a faster rate. So
Well, I do think you have to work more than 1 day a week, I can tell you that.
Well, if I might just briefly comment on that, I do sit on Senate Judiciary, and this year Senator Brock, in reference to bail reforms and so forth, and many other facets of the criminal justice system, introduced 2 bills which I co-sponsored with him. But when it comes to bail, I hadn't heard that individual had been released. I'm surprised if he hadn't been able to verify that. But you have to realize that in the state of Vermont, under 2 conditions, you can be held without bail under Title 13, 7553, 7553A, which states anything that carries a sentence of life imprisonment, you can be held without bail, and anything that you can show that there's a risk to public safety without a reasonable beyond reasonable doubt, you can hold them individuals without bail. Bail is set only for risk of flight, period. As sad as that may sound, or as heinous as the crime may be, if that individual will show up in court, then he or she probably won't have a whole lot of bail set on them, if any. So, but bail is set for one reason, and one reason only, is to secure your appearance in court, period. Maybe that should be addressed, but that's a constitutional law, so that will take a little bit more.
What about the young lady in St. Albans that's got 88 counts against her? And they keep letting her out. 88? Come on.
two stores.
But she keeps showing up back in
She
court.
shows up in court.
Based on risk of flight, failure to appear.
No, I suggested that maybe we should make all offenses that are such as shoplifting third time punishable by up to life in prison. That way you can imprison. But unfortunately, people didn't particularly like that.
But we did go a long ways with the retail theft bill this
We did.
year.
You combined them.
We
We
combined them.
combined that, they wanted to do a 14-day period, and I said, well, that's not gonna work, folks, obviously, so I was able to talk them into less than $250, up to $500, 30 days in jail, between $250 and $900. $900 is that threshold, that makes it a felony. Okay, you could, it'd be $1,000, up to 6 months in jail, and if there was a repeat offense within a 2-year period, in other words, repeat offenders, you can move up to the next level, which would be a felony conviction, okay? But there's still that 2-year period in there. So if they made it after 2 years and they want to re-offend it again, then it reverts back to, well, we have come a long ways, because it used to be that someone could go through the parking lot and you start opening up doors and looking in or whatever else. There was no law that pertained to that. So we did address that this year with our unlawful trespass to a motor vehicle, where people can be charged, walking through the Hannaford's parking lot, looking through people's cars, opening up doors and saying, oh, I think, because they can't steal something if they don't open the door or break a window, so that's what they're looking for, obviously, so.
Now, the only problem, of course, is they can do it 37 times and be arrested 37 times and still not have any pretrial confinement. And indeed, they can have a history of 17 past felonies, 106 misdemeanor convictions, as well as in some cases crimes of violence, and still not be held. And I think that one of the things, and I've been circulating here this year, that we ought to, as one of our projects that we do this summer for our caucus research, is to look at how other states, do they have, in some cases, better solutions than we do? I hate to think of tinkering with the Constitution. It's something that we should do so rarely. But this is just such a recurring problem in which we see people being harmed, and somewhere along the line, protection of the innocent is certainly paramount, but also protection of everybody else is important too. And when you see someone who has the kinds of histories that we see of some of these folks, you've got to be able to find a better solution than what we have right now. And the tools that we have right now may not be sufficient.
I think you hit it right on the head. I talk to talk radio a lot, the AM 620 show in the morning. I call in. I brought up the fact that when it comes to the school tax stuff and the crime stuff, that just like you said, there's 49 other states seem to be doing it better than us. We don't have to reinvent the wheel ourselves. All we got to do is look and see pick one that's working and model our system after that. That would be an easy fix, but I know, like you said, we got thinkers, or feelers, not thinkers up there right now. I'm a feeler, we're all feelers, we're human, but I also have a checkbook. The difference is it's my money I have to put out. What you got going in Montpelier right now, they're using other people's money, so there is no limit. That's the problem.
It's a sticky wicket, to say the least.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we try.
I know you
We'll
guys,
continue to try.
I know you all are trying, and I appreciate it.
So hopefully that answers that question, Sharon, I'm not sure. I mean, if they want to reach out to me, on my email, tell them to feel free to do just that.
Is there, for the school reform, I know there was talk of it this year that they were talking about doing it. They kick the can down the road, or are they going to address it this year once hits the fan for the tax bills and they have to address it? Do you think it's
I don't have a
feasible?
lot of confidence that it is going to be addressed in any real way. I guess it does depend on what the voters say in November. If certain key legislators are not returned to their seats, maybe that will wake up the supermajority. I can only hope, because something needs to be done. What's there is not working.
Yeah. I don't want to hog that. My other favorite subject, one last thing, the Affordable Home Heating Act, where are we at on that?
Well, any one of us can comment on that.
See their faces when you said that?
Yeah.
I don't think anybody here voted for that. However, it'll be taken up again in January of 2025 for final confirmation as to whether or not it will pass. The studies are going on right now. They're setting things in place. I know that in the Senate, we voted against it. Notwithstanding was the key word used while they're discussing it on the floor, so it'll be brought up again in January. I'm sure shortly into January when we have a new body.
Is there anything we can do as taxpayers, users of home heating and stuff, to write to somebody to get it to change? Because it's like it's a non-bureaucratic committee right now that's gonna
I
vote yes or
received,
no,
I'm
right?
sure Senator Brock, we received somewhere between 800 and 1,000 emails and texts, whatever else in reference to, don't support the Affordable Clean Heat Act, and out of that, I've probably seen 15 or 20 said yes, support it. And I'm sure that the other legislators throughout the state of Vermont are receiving those same emails and contacts. But it's a matter of, do you listen to your constituents, or do you vote which party you want you to vote? So we listen to our constituents.
Much appreciated. Richard.
Yeah, we've got all four of you in the room. I know how Wayne and Bob feel, and I think Franklin County Field Days. I haven't heard much from Lisa or Randy, but it's kind of like the cameras here. Kind of like to see, where's it going? It's like we're going around in circles in the state. The state tells us we gotta leave, but at the same time, it doesn't seem like anybody's helping us to find a place or make it easier for us to find a place, to help us out, and I've heard Bob's and, like I said, Wayne's, how they feel about it, but, Randy and Lisa, if you, even the four of you, if you could give a little bit on about Franklin County Field Days.
Sure. I really appreciate that you asked, Richard. I have not personally spoken to you about it, but the four of us have been on the same page since January. At the very beginning of January, the chairperson of Wayne's Committee on Institutions convened a little group of us in Franklin County legislators to ask what could be done to help field days. We had a meeting in St. Albans where we had some of the board members and others on the Franklin County Field Days. We were fortunate enough that Bob has now joined the board. And at that meeting, we thought we had an understanding that the state is not going to reverse their decision, and that the state has given field days an extra year to find property. And after that meeting, we all agreed that the board of directors was going to be working to identify a new site and working with the president of the board and working with other entities throughout Franklin County who might be able to help identify properties. And after that, we kind of turned it over to the board because having a senator or representative on the board seemed like the best situation for us, rather than having too many cooks in the kitchen trying to stir the pot and trying to help things along and present different properties, whatever. We thought we would funnel everything through a legislator who's sitting on the board. My understanding after that is things have come to a standstill because there haven't been any appropriate properties that have been identified that the towns or the people in the towns where they were identified are agreeable. So that's all I know. And I have not been invited to any more meetings since then. So that's my story. Do you have anything to add, Senator Brock?
I do not.
I might just say that closing the Franklin County Field Days will be one of the travesties that we won't forget here in Franklin County. It means so much to the county, to the constituents here in the county, the agricultural community here in the county. I don't buy into, well, it's FAA controlled or whatever else. AOT owns the property, and I have no idea why they can't come to the table, sit down and say, what's it gonna take to purchase this property and how do we get here? No other communities are gonna take Franklin County Field Days. And if the Field Days goes under, which there's a strong possibility that it may, it's gonna affect all the other fairs throughout the state of Vermont because of the rides that come into Franklin County, the larger rides. They're not gonna go to the smaller field days. This is something where last year I believe it was almost 20,000 people that came through the gate at the Franklin County Field Days. I'm one of the chefs. The head chef is behind me. Okay, so or somewhere's over here. I might say. But I think it's a travesty that we can't sit down with the state and come up with a comparable solution where the field days can stay where it is and maintain it and move forward. And it's difficult to do when we're not in session. To sit down with those individuals. I know the Secretary of Transportation has been working with us. He's extended the branch. He's clearly being very helpful and helping move if need be, but I don't know if it's going to happen or not. So I don't know if we can get past this. Who is actually pulling the strings on this?
There you go.
Yeah. That's what we have
Who's
to find.
pulling the strings? Because if this was a county, say in Chinny County, the field days wouldn't be getting moved.
And no, I'm not facing closure.
But in my opinion, but this has gone, they have a high school that's almost the same distance from the airport as the field days. And that's occupied 10 months a year, usually full of students, well over 1,000. That's fine.
They're not worried about their plane hitting that.
But the field days, that has one weekend a year really, that is very well attended. That is gonna be a safety issue.
And I think it's more than just the 4 days, Kyle, because they do things other than the 4 days between venues, between the weddings, whatever.
Sure.
This will have a devastating effect on Franklin.
100%.
Yeah.
100%, because I know I've heard some meetings where, you know, they were usually booked out the whole summer during weddings, and in the last couple they haven't been able to hardly book any because, well, they're afraid they're going to have to move real quick, and nobody wanted to book their wedding, and it affects local caterers, local businesses, everything. It's not just the field days, but it's like somebody's got an axe to grind, and it just seems like that's what this is all about, and nobody can find out who that is. It just, just as a very, uneducated layperson, that's what it seems like.
Well, I don't speak for the rest of the delegation, but I can assure you that when we go back to Montpelier, if we're elected as an election, when we go back to Montpelier, I don't think this is something that's going to die on the table here. And I'm not going to speak for anybody else's decisions here, but I will personally attempt to pursue this as minimal as it may be.
It just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make any sense to do that.
I feel like we haven't been able to get all of the information that we need. I referred earlier to too many cooks in the kitchen. We have gotten many different stories from different people.
Well,
And one of the reasons I stepped back, because one of the meetings was one that I called and was running because I was sure that we were all on the same page. And then a week later, I realized that we weren't all on the same page. So that was one of the reasons I stepped back from doing anything else, because I want this to be Franklin County Field Days Board of Directors driven. The board are the people who know the field days best and know what they need and what they want, what their wish list is.
But, excuse me, Lisa, I understand what you're saying, director driven, but the director's gotta have somebody besides, but we need somebody behind us. It's just like, sometimes I get the feeling like Ferdinand is all by himself. He doesn't have nobody from the state backing him other than Bob, and there's gotta be somebody on the same,
Bob is the spokesperson
For
for all of us.
We're all
Right.
backing.
Right, but
Yes, for all of us in Franklin County who represent all the communities in Franklin County. Bob is our spokesperson, so we don't want 14 people.
no,
or 12 people
I understand that, Lisa, but what
opinions.
I'm saying is, there doesn't seem like, other than Bob, it doesn't seem like there's anybody else. He's a spokesperson, but out of Franklin County, I've been to meetings and I hear this one lady doing all the talking, and I just get
I'm not
real
sure
frustrated.
who the one lady
Which meeting
is.
was that, Richard?
That was, I think Randy was there. It was down to the airport, and it was
The state trip, one from the.
Yeah,
Transportation.
Tree,
yeah,
right.
yeah, that's the one.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's who we've been designated to deal with, and we are in the same boat. We don't all get invited to the
Right.
meetings, so that's why we thought if we had somebody on the board who is also a legislator, they could go between the two groups, which Bob has been really good about doing, but don't ever think that the rest of us aren't behind Bob, because he's speaking for us. It's just that we are getting conflicting information.
I think it's out, what I'm trying to say, Lisa, I think it's outside of Franklin County, I know you guys are trying, and, Ferdinand had something to say back there.
Franklin, my name is Fernando. Franklin County Field Day is 2 weeks from tonight. We're gonna have a lot of fun, right?
Yep.
But on top of all that, what happened is, you guys hit the nail right on, you hit it perfect tonight. The governor vetoed, how many bills? 3 weeks ago. A lot of bills, 4 weeks ago. And all of a sudden, they were overridden. Why is that? We all know why. What do we have sitting in this room? We don't have any of those people that overrode his veto, do we? Nobody. So we know where this is started, we know where it's going. We have no control over this. You know what I mean? And 4 years ago, this came forward, we're gonna have airport expansion, we're gonna lengthen the runway, industrial jobs are coming in. I looked up the internet the other night from way back, and the messenger, 1,200 new jobs are coming to the Franklin County Airport. Industrial development all over. We're putting in sewer and water. Is there anything, absolutely nothing coming in? Absolutely nothing. Jimmy Harrison wants to sell me his land. He said, if you don't have a piece of land to move to, you can at least put all your stuff on my land and have a small fair. So that's where we're headed next probably, because there's nothing, no town really wants the fair in their town. We had a meeting here in Highgate. Everybody loves the fair, and they don't want it in their town. Here it's in Highgate, but it started off with 1 building, 2 buildings, 3 buildings. 40 years later, this is what we have. Everybody's used to it. They love it. So that's where it should stay. It cannot stay there because the wrong people are in Mount Penny. And those people do not like us. Why? Because what's sitting in the seat are Republicans. And that's my opinion. So, and there's no industrial development coming in there, nothing. I spoke with Tim Smith 2 weeks ago. He said, after 3 or 4 years, when you think that something would trickle down through the cracks, you would hear something moving in. There's nothing moving in, nothing. Jimmy Harrison obtained Act 250 permits for that piece of real estate that he owns. And he's ready to do something with somebody. Nothing, nobody. He says, I might as well sell it to you, there's nothing going on. He's had 2 people approach him to buy a couple little chunks for hangers. But he says, I'm not gonna subdivide this for 2 little chunks.
Yeah,
So,
unfortunately, unfortunately, what Jim told you and what Jim told me is two different stories.
I got it right here on my phone, he texted me what he would do. He said he'd sell me that land on the Prairie Island.
Yeah, 'cause that's not the understanding that he gave me at all.
Well,
So I really appreciate hearing Fernand's story because I haven't heard it yet.
have you heard anybody moving in there?
No, but I haven't heard what you just said. I haven't heard any of that yet, so that's good for me to know. And that's the problem with not being able to attend every meeting. We don't always know the big picture. We don't always know the whole picture of what's going on. We only know what people choose to tell us. And if nobody calls me up and tells me, I don't know.
Right.
And I don't want to believe what's, written in the press because they,
Well, why is that?
they
It's like if it's on the internet, it's gotta be true.
on it. I mean, yes, I could have called Richard and talked about Franklin County Field Days, but I knew it was in good hands with Bob, the rest of the board of directors, and Fernand. So, I have 100 other issues that I'm also working on, and that's not an excuse, but I can't give 100% of my effort to field days. So that's why we try to divide stuff up in our county and in our district. So certain people are more in the know about certain things than others. And I appreciate Wayne's my district mate, that he knows more about field days than I do. So I'm really glad you brought this up, Richard, so that we could talk about it. What Bob has said is, my kids from when they were little went to field days. They showed horses at field days. It will be a very sad day if field days doesn't come. It will also affect the other fairs in Vermont, as Bob said, because we've heard from their lobbyists that the amusement folks, the ride people, don't want to come if field days isn't going to happen in Franklin County. So they're not going to want to go to the other fairs.
No.
And I honestly don't know what to do about it. I wish that I could wave a magic wand and there could be a property that's suitable for the fair that the town and the people living nearby would welcome. So far, I have not heard that scenario.
But even if you found that piece of land, it's millions and millions of dollars that would have to be raised
Right.
to, and it's just,
The state can't help us out with millions of dollars.
Right.
They're already so far in debt, and they're taxing the people,
Well, they could if they wanted to.
Wayne had a question for
Yeah.
If there's another 20 million for the hotel down in Rutland, we probably could give you some, but not to go there, but I've talked to AOT, and I've worked a dozen years as an administrator and state governor here in Pennsylvania, dealing with the feds, because we always have federal grants and with lands and properties that are valuable. So I understand the restrictions that are on there and things that are going on. But we're hearing stories from AOT, stories from here. So if you want to cut to the chase and stop having 65 conversations with everybody, I would advise maybe going and meeting with the federal administrator for FAA in this district directly, so that you get the answer from the horse's mouth. And that would cut to the chase, and it wouldn't be somebody saying that somebody down in the States is doing something. So at least you could get the story straight if you did that.
Yeah, there's been a lot of, as you know, I'm in aviation for my job, and I'm familiar with the airport, familiar with the tenants there. There's been a lot of stuff that doesn't make any sense, like putting in duck ponds next to a runway. Saying that there's a drainage problem when it's 20 feet deep of sand. It had the best grass runway in the state because it was 20 feet of sand, and you can land on gravity. They removed the runway and made it into a duck pond. Nobody puts duck ponds on runways, next to runways, except here in Highgate. The state designed it, FAA approved it. I'm not sure the FAA knew that drainage thing was going to become a duck pond. There's another issue with Habitat for Aviation. We've had them in here 2 or 3 years ago. Beth White, awesome program getting girls in aviation. They're building an airplane right now. She bought the old Habitat for Humanity building, wanted to make that into a hangar, got state approval to put a taxiway in so they could start moving airplanes back and forth. That has all got shut down for, in my opinion, nefarious reasons. They had to go out and measure their trees, see how much duff was on there underneath the trees, and then they were told they couldn't cut the trees down. If they did, and they did put a taxiway in, they had to be gravel. And then after that, it was they can only taxi, or they can only tug the aircraft. They can't taxi the aircraft under its own power on the ground. All these restrictions, you were talking about anti-growth 4 years ago when we all had the powwow there, and we're talking about the water and sewer extension to the airport, bringing in tenants. Nobody wants to come there now because they're Act 250ing that thing to death.
And they have left, right?
And once again,
Habitat maybe has left, right?
Habitat for Humanity left. Habitat for Aviation is there. They're trying to expand, but they can't. And they've got the resource to expand, but the state won't let them. Once again, the anti-growth agenda. So I'm not sure what's going to happen to the airport now. I'm very worried that we're going to have a very nice airport with no tenants.
You had that grassland bird problem there too, I heard for a second.
Oh, the endangered bird that covers 99% of the U.S.
Yeah.
for habitat. Yeah, we got. It's got a nest site here. Yeah. So we started on.
So just back on, again, if you get to the top, you might require, I don't know, we're all Republicans and all of our congressional delegation is Democratic, but sometimes, dealing with the feds, if you had a congressman or a senator that would be willing to speak to somebody, that might grease the skid so you can actually have a conversation. So that you need to know the bottom line. What's the facts? What is the truth? What will work? What won't work? And who's in charge of what?
Yeah, we would be willing to buy that property. Caledonia Airport, I believe Beta is buying it. So it's not that they can't buy state and FAA land, And when I go to Lapierre, Sugar is right next to us, in the airport road, because they come to field days and they're an outside vendor. And we got talking, they said, they asked us if we wanted to buy this land. And I said, you're kidding. They won't sell us ours, they want to kick us out, destroy Franklin County. But aside from that, what we're doing next is we're going to pass out T-shirts during Franklin County Field Day, free T-shirts to support the field day. We're going to ask people to sign a petition that we can present to the governor. We're asking for every town in Franklin County to give us a letter of support. We're asking for large businesses and any business in Franklin County who thinks that field day is something that you need here in Franklin County, both agriculturally and financially. And we're going to present this to Governor Scott and see where that goes.
You got our support.
That's the only thing we can do after that. They can bulldoze the buildings, I guess.
Hope not. Hope not.
Well, we only have it for 1 year. And we have, my rent is paid till July 31st of next year. But I got an email from Trini Bersari who said, immediately after the field day, I expect you to start moving your building. Not to rent them during the winter months or anything, just to start, moving. Pretty hard to move them, you got a place to move them. They're going to stay there. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Maybe we have to do, I can't remember who mentioned it, but kind of go high and right, maybe Vermont bigger, start making some noise to get the rest of the state, and especially the parking lot. If the ride people don't show up, then they're not going to show up for the other ones, and that's huge too. That affects everybody, not just Franklin. So that's a neat little fact to keep in our pocket to play if we need to. Anybody else for listeners?
Well, that was nice and easy.
We appreciate you coming, sincerely. Thank you for coming.
Good stuff. Richard?
Thank you for your work. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Lisa, appreciate all you do.
Thank you very much, Kyle. Richard, good to see you. Don't hesitate to call. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
Karen,
I like your idea.
good to see you. Well, keep in touch. Thanks for coming, Henry. They got here.
Already then.
Okay. Next on the agenda, we got the approval of the ATV ordinance draft.
Yeah, so I sent you all a copy of the ATV ordinance. All you need to do is motion to accept it. If the public is not happy, they can garner a petition with 5% of the voters and change it.
Okay, can I get a motion to accept the ATV ordinance draft?
Make a motion to accept the ATV ordinance.
Was that a second?
Yeah.
Okay. All those who, well, actually, I should have asked, was there any discussion before I did that?
So I guess, I don't know, I got different feelings here. Are we, we gotta, if we adapt it, I don't know, I'm not ready to vote on it.
What is the draft? Not allowing ATVs? Is that what it is? I haven't
It's
been-
adding the information.
I wasn't at the last meeting, so I don't even know.
The draft basically just had the Vasa Trail as an open and access to fuel down the St. Armand Road.
Okay, so it's nothing else then. So is the rest of it gonna happen at a different time? Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Are we gonna talk about it?
Yeah, so the last meeting, we talked about addressing it in the fall again after the summer to see how it is.
Okay.
With the main reason being to see how the new sheriff is enforcing, doing enforcement. Because what we don't want to do is go back to the pre-2019 era when there was no enforcement of ATVs and we had a free-for-all.
Okay, and the other thing, I did hear Sharon say, but I didn't get all the letter, but I did hear Sharon say, and it was brought up by a farmer, like, if you're not, does this mention, if you're not, like the Buck Road off Tart, so you got farmers running that road, and it says you have to be fully Vasa and all that. If they got land down there, or they should be, in my opinion, they should be exempt.
Well, wouldn't that fall under, there's a stipulation for.
Yeah, there's the ag.
There's a stipulation for farmers to use their land and have access to it. Right, I don't think that would have anything to do with it.
Okay,
No, absolutely.
I just wanna make sure
The
that,
agriculture part is.
Yeah, the agriculture is protected. They've got their rights all day long.
okay.
To transit between their fields, across roads, and all that.
May I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
Where I live, used to be steady ATVs on the road all the time. And ever since you opened these other roads up, I very rarely see one. And I just bought one, and I kind of like to see the rest of the roads open. It doesn't sound like you're in favor of it, but I looked at the ordinances from all the other towns in Franklin County, and pretty much all their roads are all open. And Highgate's the only place that you can't get in and out of.
I'm not saying, I'm for it. The biggest thing that's bothering me is this rail trail. I'm so afraid, it's kids, I know it is, but we gotta find a way to keep them off that rail trail. I watch little kids and bicycles and mothers and fathers and.
Don't you think that if the other roads are open, they're more apt to stay off the trail?
Yeah, adults.
Yeah.
But we still got a section of kids.
Well, they're gonna grow up someday.
Another group is coming.
Maybe not.
Oh, the traffic that I used to get all the time, they're all grown up now. Got jobs and,
They're growing up.
Responsibilities, you pay your bills. and
yeah. But
You're always gonna get that. You're always gonna get that, though. You're always gonna get those people.
You're always gonna have that few.
When you have parents that let their kids have one of these and that's their babysitter, then you're always gonna get that. And I agree with you, I hate seeing anybody get hurt. But for the vast majority of people that we're talking about are adults
Adults, yeah.
who wanna get from point A to point B, not looking to go 100 mile an hour on fire.
right.
Or for our Sarah case, scalp on fire.
But I did check Berkshire, Franklin, Montgomery.
They're all.
They're all open. Richford in particular listed every road that was open. Swanton has access through part of the village to get to another trail. I just noticed their signs recently, but you get to the end of Frontage Road and you can turn right on 78. They must have worked something with the state to get to Robin Hood Drive and then across Jaws Bridge so they can take the trail. I think the more roads are open, the less people are going to be in places they shouldn't be, like the rail trail. That's my 2 cents.
Appreciate it.
So, what is the law? Is it gonna be 18 and above, licensed, all that stuff?
That's
or-
licensed and insured.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That's where helmets.
Yep.
Yeah.
And looking at the other towns' ordinances, they're all very similar. They all have the same requirements for helmets, seat belts, insurance, tag sticker.
We did state we would revisit it after
Yeah.
we get through this new sheriff, new law enforcement.
Yep. Any other discussion, comments?
I know it doesn't affect state roads, our ordinance.
Correct.
State
Correct.
roads. However, there was a comment made in one of our meetings about a triangle on the back and a bag of grain.
Correct.
Dead. Last week I caught up with one on 105 north of Hartman's, and I was stuck behind it. Down 105, down 78, and it turned up Hannah Road.
It's not legal.
It's not
We know
legal. So we still have people that
Just
are.
because you think because you throw a triangle on and throw a bag of grain in the back and call yourself a farmer, no, you have to be within a certain distance of your farm lane.
Right.
Right, so there's still some
So
skirting of the.
it's just because people choose to.
And,
Either that or they don't have any common sense.
yeah, so I think we're still gonna run into issues until the sheriff's department picks up
Right.
on it.
Yeah.
I'm for opening for the residents, but I think we need to get it controlled first.
That's how I feel.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, any more discussion? All right, can I get a motion to adopt the ATV ordinance draft?
Did that already?
We're just gonna make it official since we had a discussion.
Make a motion to adopt the ordinance.
Oh, second.
All those who say aye?
Alright,
Thank you. All right, up next we got Shelley, Town Treasurer.
So you have the giant check warrant in front of you, Vern.
Yes, it is very thick. Everybody get a chance to read it?
I looked through it. It was, what, 24 pages?
Probably.
Yeah.
It's been a bit since we've had
It's
it.
been a bit. Can I get a motion to accept the warrant?
So,
Second.
All those say aye?
I,
Thank you.
While you're signing that, where do I want to start? I'll start with delinquent taxes. I do have a tax sale date set for September 5th, 10 a.m., this community run. We have a total of 22 delinquent properties still on my list. 8 properties are on the tax sale. 11 properties are on payment plan. The balance right now is $54,617.28. And as I said earlier, I am really disappointed in Vermont's government because with the large tax increase coming down from the state and then me not allowing to get them on a payment plan as soon as possible, I fear for many residents. So I hope that's not the case. Sue, please keep spreading your word.
I will keep spreading the words because
If they struggle now, they're really gonna struggle later.
this fall, and I will get the word out. I will continue talking to people to get the word out. I've been on it for, I think, 4 years, and it's helped me tremendous. And I will continue doing the work for
Appreciate it, because I will take payments from anybody at any time
I told them
if they are paying in advance.
Yep.
It's at their discretion, whatever they can afford,
Correct.
as a credit on that future bill, just to keep that big bill at, right before your first heating bill and whatever else you got going on in October.
Is that interest free?
The payment plan, if you are paying ahead, you are just putting money on your tax bill, towards your tax bill. If you are delinquent, you are charged 1% of your outstanding principal balance on the first of every month. So the more you pay it down, the less interest you're going to be charged.
Okay.
And how I explain it to people is the way I've got it set up. I take an envelope, I come in and pay it. Shelley gives me a receipt, I put it in an envelope, and when I get the tax bill, I look at it to recheck it. And a lot of people has asked me, is there a certain amount? Whatever you can afford. If you can afford more 1 month, put it on. And if you overpay, then they will put it towards next year's taxes.
Or refund, whatever they want. Yeah.
But I'm explaining that to them, and I will continue getting the word out. I know it's helped me the last 4 years. It was a God blessing to me.
Even $100 a month is $1,200 towards your tax bill.
Correct.
So that's what I got to say about that. September 5th, 10 a.m. Hopefully it gets canceled because everyone will get paid or on a payment plan. That's my hope, always. Auditors are coming the very last week in August. I believe it's 28, 29, 30, somewhere in there, but that very final week where there's no meeting, they will be here. Speaking of auditors, you have another paper to sign in front of you because we are definitely required to do a single audit this year. So they will be coming back separately after they do the town audit. They will then go through all of the grants with another fine tooth comb. So it's going to be a very heavy audit season for Highgate.
Do you want a motion to sign this?
I would love that, thank you.
Okay. Can I get a motion to sign the audit with Sullivan Powers and Company to do our audit?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Thank you. Any, all those who say aye?
Aye.
Yes.
We have until February to complete it, and I am sure that when they are here for our town audit in August is when we will set a date for them to come back and do this. And they usually send somebody else, like Fred Duplessis. One of the top dogs down there usually comes in and handles the single audits. Budget, we're in a new budget cycle, and the only other thing I think I have right now for you is the request that came in last week or the week prior from a resident who wants to do some metal detecting on town property. I did let him know, I have no idea. He's specifically focused on the Steinauer lot, but I don't know what archaeological digging we've got going on. So.
Yeah, they are trying to finish up, the phase 1 archaeological on that now. That's why it's all ripped up there.
Yeah, I watched the
So
video.
I would think allowing that at this time would be appropriate then.
Probably not, no.
I don't know if it would ever be appropriate, but especially now.
Yeah.
The request has come in at least once, maybe twice since I've been here. And I think the motion made by the select board has depended on what property and what was going on at the time. So,
Okay, I haven't seen, like you said, they're digging it up right now. Alright, so can't do it right now, but down the road, I think it's kind of cool. I'm kind of,
It'll depend, you know, when construction and all that starts, cause you'll have
yeah.
wastewater digging, you'll have Cathedral Square digging, so, yeah.
So it's a no
Be tricky.
now.
Yeah, if we did ever approve this, it'd have to be something with some kind of liability and something written that if you did find something.
So where else does he want this?
Historical value.
Somewhere else?
Mention the park, didn't he mention the?
I read it when he brought it, but I
Says,
haven't,
Steinour
your email.
And the park
And
that
park
I
and
get called.
Highgate
Okay.
Falls, yeah.
So,
Park and Highgate Falls would be okay.
Yeah, is there anything going on in the park?
Yeah,
Just a normal maintenance.
yeah, if he digs it up, make it back to,
Okay.
The place is different.
yeah.
Place to do it, yeah. Can we just get some kind of, I guess, liability form for him to sign, just, if he gets digging up and hits an electric line or something that we're not responsible. How deep's he gonna dig, just normal amateur detector, I'm assuming?
I would assume,
Okay.
I don't know, I
I
didn't.
would think
talk to
so
the
too.
person.
It's
He's been doing this for a while, so he's pretty familiar with it.
a couple years older than Zoe and Tyler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we need a motion for this?
You probably should.
Yeah,
I
you
think so,
should.
be safe.
All right, can I get a motion from Mr. Darian Taylor to metal detect at the Highgate Falls Park for the benefit of the Highgate Historical Society?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
All right, all those who say aye? Thank you.
And then all this talk about field days, you probably know more than me, Richard, but usually a motion is made this time of year for equipment being used.
Well, I got that, I'm supposed to bring that up tonight.
Okay, so,
And, yep, and what I wanted to ask is, can the field days use the grader in Butch Russo operated at field days?
He's aware of this already?
Well, yeah, his son's the head, director of the
Okay.
tractor pulls and all that.
Okay,
He's
I know
the-
that.
And, I know last year, we okayed Butch to.
Every year.
We've
Yeah,
allowed them to
every
do
year,
it.
yeah,
every year, yeah, there's a motion made.
yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? Can I get a motion to let Butch use our grader at
I'll
field
make
days?
that motion.
A second?
All right, all those who say aye?
Aye.
Thank you.
That's all I can think of.
All right, thank you. Wendy, town clerk,
Yes.
you're up.
So you have minutes from June 20th. I did not type them. Sharon did them for me because I wasn't here. And thank you for doing that because I really didn't want to do it and I never miss, so thank you. I think I sent them to y'all.
Okay,
Yep.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to accept the minute this week.
Second. All right, all those who say aye?
Okay.
Just a good second.
I abstain.
Oh, we got a second.
I'll abstain too.
So we sent out the first round of tickets for people that refused to license their dogs.
Okay,
July 10th. We've had people come in and make good on it, or at least make plans, make appointments, so that's going well. Primary election is Tuesday, August 13th. Polls are open at the arena from 7 to 7. It's not a very highly attended election, sadly. But it is narrowing down the field for that ballot in November, so it is important, but for whatever reason, people don't pay much attention to the primaries. I have sent out 136 absentees, and as of today, I have 60 of them back. This is that election where we hand you 3 ballots, one for each party, which you can only mark up one ballot. You can write in other candidates from your ballot onto this ballot, so it's a busy write-ins, but luckily no one has to go to Swanton and be at this
Okay.
putting ballots through till midnight because this does not involve the school. We are done with that. So, contact me if you want to vote early, and we will be at the arena for another 12-hour session on August 13th. We talked about field days, but I want to ask you all, and maybe I should wait till Vern gets back, August 1st. We always schedule that meeting and we always cancel it. I'd rather know now than the day before.
That's something else I was gonna bring up.
Let's talk about it.
I probably won't make it because
Are we rescheduling, are we canceling, or can we get a commitment out of 3 that will be here and we can hold it?
so you're saying that it'd be Thursday the
The first,
first, yeah.
which would be your next meeting.
And that's the
That's the
night,
night of the
that
derby.
opens,
Yeah.
I can be here.
I can be here.
It's totally up to you guys what you
I don't know
want to do.
about Vern. I know there's sometime in August.
In the past, we have moved it to the night before, so people could go to the derby. I don't know if people are,
Oh, they're having 2 this year, so if I miss one, then go to the other one.
oh, they're having to.
No, they don't have one.
Oh, we changed it back?
Yeah, we don't have one.
Okay, he changed it back.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask now. I'd rather start working on any changes now rather than the week of. So if you want to schedule, go with the original schedule, August 1st at 6 o'clock, great. If you want to move it to the night before so everybody can go to the derby, great. If you want to cancel it, cool. I don't care.
And I'll walk in, which meeting are we talking
The
about?
next
select
select board
board
meeting is August 1st during field days.
First night of field days.
Richard has already
And
said he can't
historically,
be
we've
here.
had to move it.
Yeah,
So I'm
let's-
asking now,
yeah,
are
let's
we
plan
on schedule or are we moving it?
My personal thing is move it, so we can still have it.
Can you?
Field dates is August, what, 1 through 4?
Yeah, can you make it, Vern? Could you make it that night?
August 1, yeah.
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 So
It's
can
real.
So we have, yeah, we have a forum?
you gotta go.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we can keep
Leave
it.
it. Okay, that's all I needed to know. I was opening and closing a lot this late in the night.
Yeah, that's,
Leave it. Okay.
Horse flies out there?
Right, big horse flies. Summer Sounds concerts. They start this weekend. We only have 3 this year, so if you want to hit them up, the first one is Sunday, July 21st. Music starts at 6 p.m. And the first one is Caden Prim. I believe he just graduated from MVU. Is that right, Shelley?
That's right.
So he's
What
a
time does
young,
it start?
very talented musician. I
Part of
believe he's
the
from
rock band?
Swanton.
So
What's
you
his
did, you
name?
weren't able to get anybody to sign up this year?
Prim. For what?
Do you only have 3?
They have 3. I think they had more slots to fill, but this is the flyer that Rec put out. They have concerts on the 21st, the 28th, and then August 11th.
she was having trouble finding.
They've got that swanky new stage, but no bands to put on them, I guess, I don't know. So we'll see. But they do have 3, so take advantage of those. They are free, and hopefully the weather will cooperate. If not, I'd imagine they're just gonna
They
be
were
inside.
Yeah.
Okay. And the last thing I have for you is just a reminder that we do have a PCA meeting on Monday for select board members that can make it. The Board of Civil Authority is made up of the select board, the JPs, and me. We have not had a tax appeal hearing in a number of years. So it was a good run, but we do have one Monday night at 6 o'clock. And we need a quorum. So any of you that are available, please
I'll be there.
Please come. Okay, thank you. That's all I got.
Before you move to Sharon, I should have mentioned, I know
Yep.
Vern and I have talked about it real quick over email or quick text or something, but we do not have our educational tax rate from the state yet. There is a 30-day wait period after your budget passes before they give that to us. So as soon as I have it, I'll be passing it along to you guys. But for the audience that's been patiently waiting to see what it's going to be, we cannot answer that at this point in time. No idea.
It's been a month today since we passed that.
Hopefully early next week.
We can't wait. All right, that's it.
That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Move along.
Move along, all right. Town administrator, Sharon.
Okay,
Lots of paper.
a whole, lots of stuff. Okay, so this is your only bid for the pole barn, tear down and reconstruct at the I was expecting 2, but only 1 made the deadline.
And that's for to tear it down and
Tear
move
it
it?
down and reconstruct it near the salt shed.
There's salt shed, okay.
A little pricier than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it's all crazy. Although I ordered rock for my road today, that was very pricey compared to just a year ago. Yeah.
Can you say who it is and how much it is?
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna.
In all honesty, it's less than I thought it would be.
Really?
I'm remodeling my kitchen right now.
No, it's definitely the cost of stuff, but
Yeah.
But
I think.
did they say how much they could save in that building? Of the one here,
Everything is on that piece of paper.
Speaking of the one I think was supposed to place a bid and didn't, the big thing was the rafters, saving the rafters.
Yeah, and,
They were, I think he said $245 a piece.
yeah.
It was a huge savings being able to save the rafters. The rest of the building, there wasn't much salvageable,
Right.
is what.
So, and there was also talk of maybe coming up with a bid for what it would cost to do a new
Right.
building. So
That's
that bid has not come in.
That's gonna be way cheaper than a new building.
Can we table it until we get that in?
Yeah, we have a suspense date on this or anything?
No question, it's gonna be way cheaper.
No,
Okay.
you don't have to have it gone before the first of the year.
All right, we'll come back to that.
Okay, do you want to say for the record who it was and?
Yep, so for the record, to remove the pole barn behind the nation property, rebuild it by the salt shed, it's gonna be a estimate here from first response labor to deconstruct and reconstruct, $22,810.
Okay. Moving on, there are 2 new pedestrian signs in Highgate Springs. They're nice and fluorescent, even though the people living next to them haven't noticed yet, but they are there. I've driven by them and Vern has taken pictures of them.
I inquired about them the other day, and as to why I haven't seen them, and supposedly they were installed in October. When I came back that day, they were there. Anyways, but nobody else, even the property owners there, didn't know they were put in, so they were installed, so I'm very happy.
Yeah. Fire department SOPs, Ralph had stopped by to say that he wasn't done tweaking them yet, so thanks for looking at them, but he'll be getting back to us.
Okay.
The John Deere tractor that was vandalized is back together. Our public works department did the labor and our insurance company paid $55 an hour for that labor to do that work. So we have been reimbursed for that. The new public works truck is in at our Charlie Boys, but it is awaiting its trip to get a new body and all the particulars.
Okay.
So that is at least in the state, so that's a good sign. I am looking for permission to sign a contract on behalf of the rec department for GBA Architecture. They have been chosen by the Recreation Commission to be their architect for their new entrance and lobby area. The bid was $30,000. The next closest bid was $29,100. But they felt that GBA they were more comfortable with them based on our experience with them. So I need a motion to sign for that. And the only reason I'm asking to sign for it is I think she put my name on it.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, so.
Can I get a motion for Sharon to sign on behalf of the town and the select board for GBA Architecture to design the new entrances and lobby for the arena?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All those who say aye?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, next, there is the grants and aid, grant agreement with V-Trans. for $15,000. So we need a motion for Vern to sign that.
Can I get a motion to sign the?
What was that?
Oh, yeah.
Grant and aids, it's $15,000 to help with stormwater, road condition, minor stuff.
I didn't see it, thank you.
I'll make that motion.
Was there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those who say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Next, the Fosters on the Ballard Road are doing a 2-lot subdivision, and they are proposing Kennebec as their road name. And that is your purview, so you would need to approve that name for them.
Any discussion on that?
The Canadian potato, I mean, was it?
Yeah.
What is it, Kennebec? Do we know what Kennebec is? Do you know what Kennebec
As
is?
long as it's not some slang word, I never have no problem with it.
Oh, I know it is, a Kennebec is a potato.
That's a Kennebec.
Same thing, ain't it?
Kennebec.
Oh, Kennebec.
Canabec. Kennebec. So we're gonna.
Program acronym.
I'll make the motion that we accept it.
I'll second it.
All those who say aye?
Aye.
Thank you.
There are 2 letters in front of you for field day support. One is to the governor and one is to Anson Tebbett, the Department of Agriculture, or the Agricultural Secretary, I should say. So,
Try to keep up with you.
yeah,
Does it have to be 2 separate motions, or can we just do one?
just do one motion.
I'll make the motion that we sign them both.
Let's not get,
All those who say aye?
Aye.
Yeah, one for Governor Scott, one for Secretary Tibbetts. All right, motion's passed.
Was the GBA one grant? Or just read the
Yes.
budget? That's a grant for them?
Yeah. Well, grant, it's that appropriation for $408,000.
Oh, okay, yeah. Heard of that.
Yeah.
Got it.
I'd like a motion to accept the water testing estimate from Endine to do some water testing at the monitoring wells at the transfer station.
And this is in addition to anything, or is this just normal testing?
Normal testing.
Normal testing, okay. Can I get a motion to accept laboratory services N9 water testing for the landfill area?
I'll make that
They
motion.
test at the arena too.
Oh, they ran it too?
Yep, they're who we use for the arena water.
I use them.
I'll second it.
Okay.
All those who say aye?
Aye.
Okay, I also sent you sewer and water ordinances from Swanton Village that I'm asking that you accept to rule the airport project, because that is the source of the sewer and water. So, seems only fair to adopt their ordinances.
I have that here.
No, you were sent them.
Yeah, got an email.
Okay, no, I do I have to sign that?
No, you just have to ask people on.
Okay, can I get a motion for what Sharon just talked about?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All those who say aye?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. This one you do need to sign for the rec commission. They have approved the rec commission to sign the train service agreement. I will say that the agreement that they agreed to sign was from 2023, when I reached out to see if there would be a price change. There was a price change of $360. So this is the updated new contract, so they're looking for you to accept that.
At the rate of $700 per month, that's the correct rate.
If you look at the signature page, I think it says on the bottom, 18,000 something. Yeah, you're talking about the snack bar contract. This is training.
Trent, never mind. The right piece of paper, that helps. Yes, this one, yep.
How much is it, 18,000?
18, yeah.
It's 18 something. It's not 18.
There we go, 18.5. Service agreement for 3 years beginning July 1st, 2024 for a total of $18,500. Can I get a motion to accept that?
Make a motion.
Second.
All those set?
Aye.
Aye.
18,000 is for the full 3 years, right?
18.5.
18.5
Yeah,
for 3 years.
not per year.
I'm reading it as 3 years for a total of 18,000.
That sounds better, yeah.
Yeah, not
Okay.
18,000 per
I knew
year.
it was expensive,
Yeah.
but it wasn't that expensive.
Yeah.
Inflation.
Okay, the next one is the snack bar contract
Let me get that.
from the rec department that they're asking you to sign with Big Al's.
They're the only ones that came in with a bid, correct?
There were 2
Oh,
bids.
there was.
The other bid was $125 a month, more expensive.
Okay. He has a good history too, so
They have an excellent history.
happy to see that.
Yes.
Can I get a motion to accept the snack bar contract for?
I'll make a motion to accept it.
Second.
All right, all those say aye.
Aye.
That's a 1 year, 1 season?
Yes.
October 1, 24 through March 31st, 25.
Hockey season.
Yeah. Which will be here soon.
So the rushes are all done.
Nope, they're doing it. Big
Oh,
Al's.
big Al's is the rushes?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
The last thing I have for you is to ask permission to sign the RTP grant, which is the recreational trail grant we received for $49,880. Just need to sign off on the final agreement, and they're doing it by DocuSign, so I figured it'd be easier if I did it than having to drag it in here. So if you are agreeable to that, I would ask for permission.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All those set?
Aye.
Okay. That's it for me.
Okay. That was busy for me.
That was busy.
Yeah, but you did all that other stuff in like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
That's
I
true.
know.
True,
Good
true.
job.
And you remember it tonight.
Yes. Get better, get better.
So, select board.
Yeah, select board. Anything for the select board? Yeah, we got some stuff for executive.
Yes, I would ask that you include Michael Casella, Ryan Deneen, is that how you say it? Okay. And that's it for right now, besides myself.
Okay.
Bye, guys. Have a good week.
Yeah.
So,
Pleasure.
yeah.
All right, I look at one thing, kind of a safety PSA. I was weed whacking today and I ran into some poison parsnip hidden in the other weeds, so be very careful with that so you don't get rashes. It's nasty stuff. Anybody else?
You should have told Mary before you sat next to her.
Yeah.
Let's go, Mary.
He didn't tell me, by the way.
You want to borrow my pen? Yeah.
It's not easy, so I'm safe.
That'll be it. That'll conclude tonight's select board. Unless there's anything else.
Big Al's, so we're going to go to executive.
Second.
All those say aye?
Aye.